Welcome on in to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker here with Eric Frandsen on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM. The Fan, streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 106.9 The Fan mobile app, and streaming online on YouTube. You can see Eric's dorky smile there. Is what you fortunately didn't witness is that when he walked into the studio, he sneezed and he immediately hit a dab like he was a 7-year-old.
Yeah, let's go. You know, they teach you to maybe sneeze into the crook of your elbow so you're not spreading it everywhere. So I thought, I'll go all in.
We'll go all in, do the full-on Cam Newton, hit the dab. That's what I have to deal with, guys. That's what I have to deal with in the office every single day, working with the
sacrifices and challenges we face.
Such sacrifices. Like later tonight, I have to go watch Utah State soccer. A fate worse than death.
Yes, it's hard.
It's a hard life. I have to go watch a Manny Martin's coach soccer team.
I know the things we ask.
Yeah. So we'll talk about Utah State soccer a little later as they're playing their second home game of the season. They're hosting Portland tonight at, is it 7 or 7:30? I should probably figure that out.
7:30.
If I'm going to the game, I should probably figure that out.
Yes.
But we'll also talk a lot about Utah State football. Their fall camp continues. We both snuck into Utah State practice today, or really went at the end of their practice to speak with Bronco Mendenhall. We also spoke with Bryson Taylor, who just about a week and a half ago returned and is playing with the team. He's already got a number 24.
That's right. I didn't even notice that when I was looking at him.
Yeah, he was wearing the number 24, and I was like, is he just wearing that because...
But you don't wear a number unless you have it assigned, and you have to choose it.
Yeah, I wasn't 100% sure of that, but then I checked the roster, and he is listed as number 24. Difference, because I think he was 11 last year, but he's a little late to the party, so he couldn't have got his number quite yet. But we also spoke to Nikko Boncore, one of the wide receivers for the Aggies, a guy who could potentially have a breakout season. He was a redshirt last year, will be a redshirt freshman this year, so we'll see how he does. And so Eric had a chance to talk with Nikko. I talked with Bryson. We both spoke with Bronco Mendenhall. A bit loud. We were meeting with him, and then like the entire team came over to put away all their gear next to us.
We probably, we
need to get smarter about where we're doing.
He came off the field, and we're like, "Oh, he's coming off. We're gonna do the interview." He's like, "I'll be right back, guys." And so we like kind of stay where we are. We're talking amongst ourselves. All of a sudden, he's backing, and okay, let's do this. And so we hadn't like really moved to a really great spot for him, but oh well. You hear a lot of players and the catapult machine in the background.
Yeah, you can still hear Bronco perfectly fine as well as us. There's just a little bit of extra background as about 100 football players are concluding their practice. So,
and I'm not going to try to injure myself too much, patting myself on the back or us on the back, but we're trying to do the best we can to let folks know about this team this year. And so far, we're the only ones apparently doing this. So I hope you appreciate what we're trying to share with you in the audio and video that we're preparing and the interviews that we're doing, because practices aren't open. There's not an open scrimmage. And so all that we're learning is from what we're gathering after these scrimmages or practices. So I know, Jason, you're putting these out on YouTube. I'm sharing them on my personal X Twitter accounts. So we're trying to get the word out so people get to know who these players are and what's the general mentality of the team. And as we've been going, a few things have happened, and certainly this Bryson Taylor stuff is like, you know what? We need to talk to Bronco Mendenhall.
Yeah.
There's a lot of stuff that's been happening. It's been a couple of weeks now, and there's a player that's coming back who we didn't think the Aggies could have. So let's see if Bronco's available. And he said yes. And so we went and talked to him today.
Yeah, we got to talk to Bryson as well. So we'll hear from both of them and Nikko. Let's start with Bronco. Let's hear from him. We'll play that interview. And obviously it wasn't just Bryson Taylor that we talked to him about. Talked to him about a couple of other different things about how the team is coming together and highlighting a couple of position groups as well.
How depth is developing. Who's QB2? How's McKay doing? You had some really interesting questions about running backs and wide receivers. So, yeah, hope you enjoy our conversation we had with Bronco Mendenhall earlier today after practice.
All right, thanks, Coach. I guess you're about halfway through camp. I guess how would you assess how you're going halfway through so far?
I would say workmanlike. The team is consistent. They're unified. Our culture is strong. Our work ethic is good. And really in camp, that controls so much of what you get done, showing up to work every single day. And it's not much different than the rest of us that have regular jobs. I mean, it's showing up every day. These guys are doing that, and the football part is improving step by step along the way.
So you've keyed in a lot on the offensive line. I know there were some injuries that happened in spring, and that kind of hurt maybe the chance to develop a little bit more work. How has fall camp gone with maybe some of those guys being healthy, or is there still some concerns?
Yeah, our offensive line is certainly improved. We're more consistent. We're more talented. We're deeper. The depth alone, the number of bodies as well as the competition, man, that helped drive performance. And so that's allowed our entire team to function at a higher level. So the unit improved for sure. Leadership, cohesiveness, talent, and depth. So I'm encouraged.
Would you assess the health of that offensive line?
One injury so far is all. And so that's, again, allowed that unit to continue to improve, but also our team to improve. So much of the growth of a team is tied to each position and how healthy they've remained, especially interiors. That's one of our strengths right now, is our fronts have stayed healthy so we can get more plays, more physical plays, and more volume.
And then just generally the health of the team. I know you run a physical practice and guys are going to get banged up. Anything that's going to affect the season itself? Guys maybe miss games, or how's the health of the team right now?
Our practices are very demanding. Our program expects a lot. Our team was trained really well in the summer, in the off season, which happens before fall camp. And so not a single injury at this point that will affect game one. And again, we're not finished with camp, but not yet.
So the running back room, Javen Jacobs, obviously kind of the main returner who was playing last year, but obviously more than just one running back is going to be seeing the field. What have you seen from the guys behind him, Noah Wyatt, Washington, others, as far as a whole running back rotation that you're going to need to rely on?
Yeah, our running back room is deep, and I view it more as kind of flat than tiered. Certainly Javen, because of his experience and the number of snaps he's played. Sessi Vailahi, coming from Oklahoma State, also an experienced player, upperclassman. Noah White, Nehemiah, right? So there's different tiers of experience, but all different styles of backs, which I really like. So while we're deep, they're not all the same back, and each brings something different. So at least four, which, man, that's a great, we're in a great position with that many, not only depth, but style of play.
You named McKay Hillstead the starter at the end of spring practices. You've praised what he did in developing a plan in the off-season. How has he done so far in camp, acting as QB1?
Yeah, just picked up where he left off. He's a clear leader on our team. He's really intentional. Very driven, really conscientious, and is the equivalent of having basically another coach in the building when our staff isn't meeting with players, McKay is meeting with the players. And anytime you change coordinators, which is fairly typical in college football, a lot of work to install new offenses and get everyone up to speed, and McKay's done a really nice job with that.
With the running back room and the wide receiver room, there's a couple of guys who are returning who have played, but a lot of guys between both of those rooms haven't done much on the field in terms of in front of a crowd during a game. How do you prepare guys to go from the practice field to a game with that experience, and what do you expect from some of those guys who are stepping into these big roles for the first time?
Yeah, in preparing them, it's never quite the same, but we're replicating as many live situations as possible, as many in-context situations as possible. That means play clock, down and distances, timeouts, and so end-of-game scenarios, etc. One of the very bright spots so far at camp is our receiver play, and what an encouraging thing to have receivers playing at such a high level. So McKay's throwing the ball really well. Really encouraged by how our receivers are performing.
You're talking about this developing depth and opportunities like that. Have you identified a backup quarterback for McKay? And what's the quarterback room generally, how that's looking?
Yeah, our backup right now is Grady, our transfer from the University of Virginia. He's had an outstanding camp and really has done a nice job with maturity, production, leadership, versatility, and a nice counterpunch to McKay. So he's emerged as the clear number 2 at this point.
You had kind of alluded to this when we met with you when you started opening camp, that with this new 5-for-5 ruling stuff that you might get a player back. Looks like you did. Bryson Taylor, we see him on the roster. When did he come back, and how well is he getting caught up to speed to helping you this season?
Yeah, Bryson's been back about a week and a half. And our program, a player has an acclimation period. So the NCAA has an acclimation period by helmet days, shell days, etc. We also have a period that players have to demonstrate physical competency before they even get to do that. And so Bryson's been back with us about a week and a half, really experienced. And to be clear, the NCAA hasn't made a final ruling on all these kids that are coming back to programs throughout camp. And so we're not the only one. We expect that to happen, but there's been nothing official yet. I expect it to be official at some point. Again, that's not just Bryson, but many others around college football. Great to have him back. Really good player. Adds immediate depth and competition to our secondary, which we'll need.
Obviously, at the very least, Bryson provides depth. Where do you maybe see him fitting in the defensive backfield? Because and correct me if I'm wrong, I think he played a little bit more corner at New Mexico, and I think a little bit more safety last year with Utah State. Just you fit him in wherever you necessarily need him, whether it's safety or corner?
We're looking for the best 5 at any given time, and then the best 6, and then the best 7. So Bryson being able to play corner and safety just gave us the equivalent of 2 players. And he started at both places, New Mexico and here for us. So we're getting a returning starter at 2 different positions, which is the equivalent of getting 2 starters back in terms of our depth.
Coach, on Saturday, it's you guys get to host a family fun day, as you've called it. Describe what that event could be for fans to come and meet and visit with your team.
It's a cool opportunity. My wife and I, man, we love this community. We thought it would be good. We didn't think it would be this good. I mean, the people, the sense of, I would say just camaraderie and like values, and it's a true college town. So it's a way for our program to give back, provide an opportunity for fans and families to come have a great day. All kinds of activities, but also watch college football and just be appreciated. Our players will be there after the scrimmage, just connecting and signing autographs and visiting, which is, we represent our community.
Well, I wanted to ask about just announcement this morning, the throwback helmets for Utah State. I'm assuming you've seen them, where it's the old 90s logo for Utah State, the bull jumping through the U, just like, what's it like when you see just throwback jerseys?
It's cool. It's really neat to be the steward of a program that has such cool traditions. And I'm sure the guys that played in that era are just like, man, I bet they're thrilled. And I'm lucky to be able to connect with that era and coach a team that hopefully plays representative of what they'd like to see in terms of the values and how maybe they played.
All right, so that's Utah State football head coach Bronco Mendenhall, as we spoke to him after practice today, about 11:30, 12 o'clock. As they got things done. And a few interesting things in there, a couple bits of kind of news, little mini headliners there. I mean, for one, kind of they've narrowed down on a backup quarterback. We saw in spring that it was they seemed like, maybe they knew back then, but like they seemed to be giving Grady Brosterhouse and Caleb Maryland pretty even snaps as they were trying to let those 2 players, one, get reps because they knew McKay was already the starter, but also battle for like who's going to maybe be the backup quarterback. That's something that may not have been decided back in spring.
Yeah.
So they wanted to, Caleb's obviously very talented. Grady has a little bit more experience. Which one of those ends
But also
up,
this summer you have the introduction of Brady Goodman into the mix. So you have yet another quarterback to throw into the mix, but it's clear Grady is number 2.
Yeah, he's got, I think, just the experience. I think probably just wins out for him a little bit more. Probably gives him a little bit more consistency, which tends to be kind of the important thing that you want to see. And he's also likely, it's also probably nice to have him in that backup capacity because, one, I think he's going to be someone who sees the field at spot moments, when the Aggies are looking to just ground and pound, and that's what they need.
Yeah, I think there are packages in which we will see Brosterhouse out there with McKay Hillstead is perfectly fine and perfectly healthy. Yeah. But there will be situations where Grady Brosterhouse will come in and he will be the guy under center.
Yeah, someone who can,
or in shotgun or however they decide.
Well, basically just situations where it's like they either just say we need 1.5 yards, it's 3rd and 1, and they go with the old tush push, or the fact that he's quarterback. He could do a play action and also throw it in that situation as well. So they can use him as a short yardage runner, but obviously you can catch the deep because, if they see Grady Brosterhouse, they're like, oh, it's a run. Then suddenly you throw on them.
Right.
That's something that the Aggies could use in a couple of situations as well. We saw them do that with Levi Williams.
Right.
Where he would come in those situations. So And Grady Brosterhouse did that at Virginia. He was a backup quarterback who scored 4 rushing touchdowns in a single season.
Yeah.
So
I also thought it was interesting just the conversation about offensive line.
Yep.
Is that unit is getting healthy, though they did have an injury in camp. The seriousness of it, I think, still to be determined. Just the length of time out. But one of the things he added on injuries is that there are injuries, but he said there are none that look like they're going to bleed into the season. No season-ending type stuff.
Yeah, or even like missing significant amount of games, it seems like.
Yeah, at least to this point.
Yeah, at least
there's still a few more weeks of practice.
Yeah.
So they run a physical brand of practice. But, yeah, guys are dinged up a few here and there, but nothing that's too significant.
Yeah, nothing that's going to be atypical of guys who are getting into football shape.
Right, yeah. And then the stuff about Bryson Taylor, getting him back and how he referred to it as feeling like we got 2 starters back.
Yeah.
It's one guy, but we got 2 starters back because he's versatile. He can play the corner. He can play safety. It adds depth and versatility to the guys that already have in that area. And so that's going to provide just more weapons and more versatility for Utah State defensively.
It kind of goes to the conversation we had, yesterday, where it was all right. He's listed at safety last year, and you look at Utah State's safety room right now. It's full of guys. You have almost too many of them.
Yeah, where's he going to play?
Yeah, but
or which other guy has to now sit?
Yeah, but you have someone who actually can play corner, where they did bring in some guys, but they're thinner at corner than they are at safety. And so in overall, it's not just about 2 safeties and 2 corners in 1 nickel. It's about, in a lot of cases, 2 safeties and 3 corners, or 6 or 7 different defensive backs on the field at once. And having him on the field, like say, maybe you want another cornerback on the field, or maybe you want him to be a little bit more physical because you want to still be able to stop the run. Like, that's something that Bryson Taylor can be. He is essentially a starter at 2 positions. Like, imagine in basketball, like a 6'5" point guard. That's basically 2 players that you can have, because you can play him at one position where he can fulfill all the requirements, but he can also play another position. Yeah. And so that's essentially, there's a basketball analogy for people like me who identify maybe a little more with basketball. But
the other thing too is it's nice having that depth and versatility in the secondary, but if you've got a defensive front that's going to be solid, then you can maybe add another guy on the back end. If you believe in your front, then you can have maybe a little bit more in the back and just really make it hard for teams like, okay, I dare you to pass on us, to throw the ball on this team, because we've got a lot of guys in there that are going to make it tough to throw on us, because we believe in that front 7 to hold their own. So try passing the ball on this group.
Yeah. So just the depth and the versatility that Bryson adds is going to be key for this defense, which we're already high on this defense, and they've only gotten better through the re-edition of Bryson, the return, I guess, of Bryson Barnes.
Bryson Taylor.
Bryson Taylor. Dang it. I was doing that in my head all day. I kept calling him Bryson Barnes.
That would be something if we had Bryson Barnes.
I kept calling him Bryson Barnes in my head, but then I always managed to say Bryson Taylor, or especially when I was, at least I hope when I was talking to him, I didn't accidentally call him Barnes, and he never corrected me. So if I did it, then who knows? We'll
hear that later.
We'll hear that later. We'll see if I make that mistake. I don't remember making it, but there's a lot of things I don't remember.
Your thoughts, your reactions to what you heard from Bronco Mendenhall. If you want to chime in, always love to hear your reactions to what we were able to gather earlier today after practice with Bronco Mendenhall. He did mention something that I want to circle back on, but want to get your thoughts, if you have any, on what you heard there from Bronco Mendenhall. 435-339-0321. That's the Young Power Sports of Logan text line. Or you can drop in the comments in the YouTube chat, the Fan KLGN. And we've got some texts that have come in, some messages. So we'll get to those on the other side of this timeout.
Welcome back to the Full Court Press as we continue our Thursday edition of the show here on The Fan, as well as streaming on YouTube at The Fan KLGN. Watch the video stream if you want to see Eric dab, or just listen to us if that suits you. You don't need to see my ugly mug, and as well as Eric.
Yeah, your thoughts, your reactions to our interview with Bronco Mendenhall after practice today. Aggies are halfway through fall camp before they get ready for the home opener against Idaho State on September 5th?
Yeah, September 5th.
September 5th. So, we're really at that halfway point. So your reactions to that on our Young Power Sports of Logan text line, 435-339-0321, or on our YouTube feed, our YouTube channel, The Fan KLGN. But before we get into those reactions, because there's a few other things that I wanted to talk about from our conversation with Bronco, we need to continue the countdown for our top 25 Aggies of 2026.
Yeah, top 25 Aggies. We are up to number 7 on the players that we need to reveal. So let's hear all about the player who was picked 7th on our list.
It's time for the next player to be revealed in the Cache Valley Media Group Top 25 Aggies of 2026. At number 7 is the versatile receiver, Anthony Garcia. Garcia made history as a do-it-all player for the Aggies last season. He became the first Utah State player since 1976 to have at least one passing, rushing, and receiving touchdown within a single season. In total, Garcia had 4 passing touchdowns, 2 receiving touchdowns, and 1 rushing TD last year, and accumulated 502 all-purpose yards. Garcia is set to reprise this do-it-all role as a quarterback, receiver, and rusher, and may even sneak in some trick plays on special teams as well.
Yes, Anthony Garcia, previously listed at quarterback, but played wide receiver last year. He will reprise his do-it-all role this upcoming season. As mentioned, a bunch of stats, basically 3 different ways. He was a passer who threw a touchdown on almost every single attempt he threw. Had only 1 incompletion, but also ran for some yards, caught a decent number of passes as a receiver. And yeah, he's going to do it all again this year. Run, throw, catch.
6 pass attempts, 4 touchdowns.
Yeah.
That's a pretty good ratio.
It's not too bad.
11 rushing attempts, 1 touchdown, 75 yards. 20 receptions and 2 touchdowns. This guy, when he was in the game, he was scoring, or he was making big momentum opportunities for the Aggies. So was he the most dynamic wide receiver? No, that was Braden Pagan. And Brady Boyd. But he was absolutely a difference maker for Utah State. And I believe he will continue to be a difference maker for Utah State because he is so versatile. That's why he's in the top 10. He appeared on everybody's list. As high as 2 on someone's list, ballot, as low as 24 on someone else's. But by and large, a lot of people that submitted their ballots, everybody had Anthony Garcia on there somewhere. And this is a really versatile player that he brings a really unique perspective. And we talked about this the other day, a really unique perspective to help McKay Hillstead and Grady Rosterhouse or any other quarterback there, because he knows what it's like to be in their position, but he also knows what it's like to be a receiver or a running back and do different things. So he's really, besides being a versatile player on the field, he's also really versatile as a leader in helping his teammates find different ways to take advantage of what the opposing defense is trying to do.
Well, and with Anthony Garcia, as an option to throw him in there and have him, taking snaps from the shotgun as the quarterback, maybe having McKay Hillstead standing next to him, or another running back, or whatever they do. Like, the fact that that's another option. And you also have Grady Brosterhouse who could come in on certain situations. And obviously there's McKay Hillstead. Like, all the different things that opponents have to scout for. And when you can, spread teams out like that in terms of the research and the effort that they have to put in to figuring out all the different ways that you might attack their defense, and then have to come up with counters for those, and then have to practice those, go over them with the team. Like, is it this massive advantage, like this massive singular thing that makes it incredibly hard to play the Aggies? No, but you can start to add up, the kind of death by 1,000 paper cuts where it's like you're spending time on the possibility that Anthony Garcia is going to line up in shotgun, roll out, and throw a pass deep. And the time that you spend on that is just a few less plays that you're spending on, a typical McKay Hillstead, 3-step, 5-step drop on any other given play, or what you might do with Javen Jacobs. And of course, there's also the fact that Javen Jacobs may line up as a receiver. Like, this is kind of something we went over a little bit early last season, where the Aggies were kind of causing problems where they'd use Miles Davis and Javen Jacobs in the pass game, and even with Anthony Garcia, like, that's something that helped them then. And so it's going to help in the early season when they face Idaho State, Washington, Utah. The variety that they can bring will stress opponents' coaching staffs, and the kind of mental space just available for all the defenders to remember all the different things that all these different Aggie players might do. They may not remember that Anthony Garcia can throw the ball because he's a former quarterback.
Yeah.
They may be hyper-fixated on the fact that Grady Brosterhouse, the only tape that exists of him is him running the ball. And they forget, oh, wait, he passes because he's a quarterback. And it's all these different kind of things where it's like the one half-step hesitation from the defense because they can't remember what might happen. Those create the inches by which touchdowns burst through.
Yeah, opposing coaches, well, I've heard this phrase from coaches before. When you have players or schemes that have these types of variety available to them, they call it burning chalk. You require opposing coaches to burn chalk. They have to spend extra time putting different ideas on the board and then coming up with new ideas because you just don't know. Like, you're requiring them to spend more time, watch more film than you said, just spending time just focusing on McKay Hillstead. And so somebody with his versatility, an opposing defense isn't going to know when he takes the field. He might not do anything, but there's the threat that he could do one of 3 different things that are very dynamic on offense. And so opposing coaches, defensive players have to spend extra time being worried about where is Anthony Garcia when he's on the field, because he might do something. And when he touches the ball, he scores points.
Yeah.
Or points get scored. So he's a really dynamic player. Excited to have him back. He's a great leader as well. And just really like his style and his ability to have other players gravitate to what needs to be done and do it in the right way.
So that's the number 7 player on our top 25 Aggies of 2026, Anthony Garcia, the do-it-all gadget player.
Yeah, he doesn't mind being called the gadget man.
He doesn't mind that. We heard that from him the other day. Let's jump into our text line as well as our YouTube chat. Start with the YouTube chat. Braden Clark picking up on something that Bronco Mendenhall discussed because we mentioned the throwback helmets.
Yeah, those were announced today.
Yeah, as it's using the logo that was used kind of in the early to mid 90s, 1992 to 1995, I believe it was. So not too long. But Bronco talking about saying maybe they'll play like those guys back then. It's in Braden Clark saying maybe not exactly like the 90s tems, considering the record.
Yeah. I mean, there was the team in 93 that went to
there's
a bowl
one
game,
good year. They won 7 games.
That was an exciting year for Utah State. But by and large, the 90s weren't exactly kind.
Yeah, I'd say try and be like those 90s teams, specifically the 93 team, in doing something that hasn't been done before.
Yeah.
They won. That was the first ever bowl game. The Aggies they'd struggled to go to bowls because they were independent. And back in the 70s and 80s, if you were independent, you didn't get to go to bowl games because they were all conference affiliated things.
Yeah.
But then in the 90s, they finally were good and in a conference. So they go to a bowl game. They finally check that box for the growing football program.
Yes. So yeah, that in that aspect, that would be nice. Got a text in before the show from 9315. There's a big hubbub down south about BYU and some fundraising opportunities. People can bid on different experiences or pay for different experiences. Are they bidding? I thought it was
just like you just pay for it.
Yeah.
One of which is like the pregame like press box, like, same like meal the like media are getting and whatnot. And it's like you end up paying like $800 with along like ticket included. It's like $800+ and I was like, dude.
Yeah, or be in the tunnel at the start of the third quarter when they come back out on the field. Just random little things
like some of the
that.
on-field ones make sense, but like having a pregame meal in the press box for just that is like $240. Like I've had the pregame meals in the BYU press box. They're not worth that much. They're fine.
Yeah.
But they're not worth $245 a pop.
So some people are having some fun with this. 9315 sharing a picture. BYU Athletics Experiences. Get a DUI ride with a BYU athlete for $125.
That
An experience you will never forget.
That would be an exciting ride. It'd be like riding. It's like when people do the ride-alongs with like professional race car drivers. Only instead of being terrified because you're going 180 miles an hour for the first time in your life, you are terrified for your life because you're actually in danger.
5338 texting in. Watching soccer is in fact a fate worse than death, Jason. I'm glad you finally come to your senses. Confession is good for the soul.
I don't need that kind of negativity in my life. 5338.
And then Eric, your Aggie coverage is highly appreciated.
I can appreciate that positivity,
Yes,
but just Eric's Aggie coverage, not mine though.
Certainly I do the interviews, and Jason does the written stuff on Cache Valley Daily. So we're trying to tag team.
Yeah, Eric's done a great job with these interviews, and behind the scenes, he's been doing the get to know your Aggies. So
watch for those coming up.
That stuff will pop up during the season as they get highlighted on KVNU Aggie Game Day as well on social media. And I got a preview because I heard some of the questions you were asking Nikko Boncore, and I was like, what the heck are these questions, Eric? But just fun stuff.
Yeah, and then 3714 texting in. News from your interviews. Grady is number 2. Offensive line is improved and deeper. Running back room is deeper with different styles of runners.
Yeah, and that last one, the running back room and different styles, we did touch on that a little bit yesterday, where obviously you have Javen Jacobs, a converted wide receiver. One thing I kind of dug up with stats with him today is that he's one of, I think, 4 Utah State running backs ever, or at least since like the 70s. Specifically running backs who have caught at least 40 passes in a season. The most recent player aside from him was Kerwin Williams in that 2012 season, where he had a fantastic season as a receiver and obviously as a runner. He ran for like 1,500 yards.
Yeah, special player.
There's a couple of others. I think Emmitt Smith did it twice. And then Abu Wilson, I think maybe did it. But yeah, he's like one of 4 or 5 players to ever catch 40 passes in a single season. So he's unique in that he's able to obviously be a running back, be a runner, and then also catch a lot of passes. Though Bruce Natson, I ran into his name because he caught 50 passes and ran the ball 50 times in a season, which is also fairly unique. But he was a wide receiver, so he didn't count when I was doing that little arithmetic there.
Yeah, one thing that I wanted to circle back on,
but like I got sidetracked to my point because like we have Javen Jacobs as the one style. But
yeah,
Nehemiah Washington, 6 foot, 225-pound running back. Sesi Vailahi, I know he's not tall, but he's still bulky and north of 200 pounds.
And has a lot of experience.
Yeah, has experience, including at the power conference level. And then Noah White, who's probably kind of he's more of a balance because he's got some ability to catch the ball. He's kind of in that in between where he's balanced. He provides a little bit of both, where you're not necessarily thinking, oh, he's definitely going to do this or he's definitely going to do that. It's like, yeah, I can do a little bit of both, and you got to watch out for that.
Yeah, one thing from the interview with Bronco Mendenhall, there is an event on Saturday. Don't know how widely publicized it's really been.
A little bit,
but they're holding this family fun day. My hope was this year there would be a little more transparency for the fans to see what this team's all about. But unfortunately, it's not happening. And Utah State football, as you heard Bronco say, after the scrimmage, there'll be interviews and things like that. That is a team-only thing. That's closed to the public. So when the players are done practicing, then they'll come up for interviews and things like that. You can get your picture taken with the athletes, but fans will not be able to see this team practice. They will not see a scrimmage. So we've gone, again, through a fall where the fans and the media, it's not like they're picking one over the other.
Yeah.
Nobody gets to see this team. So there was a little bit of a hiccup in our interview. I was going to ask more about that specifically, but there's maybe a little miscommunication that we had to edit out. But I'm a little disappointed that the fans don't get to see this team. And the mentality, I understand to a degree. Bronco Mendenhall wants to, or does not want to give his opponents an advantage before the season begins. But it's Idaho State. And after Idaho State, everything's available. There's film on your team after that. So this can't be about protecting the Aggies from Idaho State. So I'm a little frustrated and disappointed that fans can't see this team, because that's going to slow down the fan reaction to what this team could be this year, because they won't know. Are they going to be excited about this team when they play on the open against Idaho State? Because then after that, there are 2 road games against really tough opponents. And so then it's homecoming, and do we really know what this team is? So it's unfortunate, and I think that's a mistake to continue to close off and shut out the fans from seeing what your team's all about this year.
Yeah, the logic, that I think Bronco Mendenhall is probably working under. I don't want to try and psychoanalyze him, but it's more of a, if you build it, they will come. If I have a good team, people will come watch. And there is very much data to back that up. When there's hype where there is excitement that the team will be good. The best season opening attendance has pretty much ubiquitously been after a season in which the Aggies were good. Season opener in 2019, season opener in 2022, season openers in like 2013, 2014, like after, you look at all the elite seasons in 2012, 2013, 2014, 2018, 2021, go to the season after, and you'll find that the season openers, home openers, were very well attended relative to other seasons, like the 2021 home opener, which wasn't particularly well attended. Last year's home opener, which wasn't well attended, coming off of a 4-8 season. It was the worst one since like the late aughts when the Aggies were terrible.
And there was nothing that was in the offseason that gave Aggies hope that with this new coach, with this change, things might turn around.
Yeah.
It didn't exist. We couldn't see it. And so it stands to reason that fan attendance was down.
Yeah. So but I think there is, so while obviously the number one driver of early attendance is going to be what the team did the season before, you can bolster that, supplement it with the hype that you generate by connecting with the community, not just through community service and things like that. Like Bronco does an incredible job with his team of trying to get his players to be people in the community, not just football players. But have your players be football players in the community as well.
Because ultimately, they want to come see how well you perform on the field in a game. That's why they pay tickets to come see you on the field.
It's like you're being paid to showcase a football team, and while he does do that as part of the games, you risk sacrificing at the very least one game a year in terms of lowering attendance by hundreds, if not thousands, of fans who, because they don't hear about the team in the offseason, like we're doing our level best to get things out there, to get these interviews out there, to have people listen to our radio station. But to be honest, during this time of the year, fans aren't listening as much because it's the off season. Partly because there's no news. There's not a whole lot that we can share, so not as many people are listening because they're waiting until we have concrete information to share. And so some of that is lost there. There'd probably be more hype and whatnot if there were more to talk about. We need to take a break, but want to continue this conversation.
Yeah, we've got a few more texts that are coming in, so we'll get to those.
So yeah, we gotta pay the bills, hit some commercials, but we want to continue this conversation next here on the Full Court Press.
Ride the newest machines from Kawasaki, Polaris, and more with Live Young Rentals. You can find it at Young Power Sports. No hassle, no commitment, just ride. Or you can call to find out more details, 435-755-7111.
So I had to pause in the middle of my rant to take a break, but the point I was starting to get on about was potentially sacrificing attendance for one or multiple games. And, I know for Bronco, it's like, hey, if I have a good team, they will come. But people may not fully catch on to that until you've had 3 or 4 home games.
Right. You have to maximize the revenue of that facility because it's not used 360 days of the year, or 359 days of the year.
Or even basketball, where like they have had seasons where people, like you look at the 2018-19 season, people didn't show up early in the season. They sold that thing out by the end of the year because people saw what that team was, and then they were showing up a little bit more early in the 2019-20. There was a little, they're trying to figure out if Utah State would repeat. Of course, there was a lot of hype because they were like preseason top 25, I think, or close to it. And then still we're selling out because that team was still awesome. So like, and like you look at you think, okay, if you're a good team, they will eventually come to the games late in the season. You know where 2018 ranks in terms of home attendance? Not all that high. People didn't come to those games because it took way too long for them to realize just how special this team was. And then by the time they realized that, it's cold outside. And so there are a lot of people who are like, well, I'll watch this one from home. So Bronco Mendenhall is sacrificing attendance, where stretching every single dollar matters the most. He is potentially sacrificing attendance for an advantage that's hard to quantify. And so that's where I think he deserves some criticism. Like, again, all of this ends up not mattering if he builds a good team. Because if you build a good team, everything kind of gets forgiven if you're able to consistently get good teams. But, like, you need to try and maximize everything. Like, Utah State's managing to sell more season tickets, but I think they'd be selling a lot more if you can generate hype for this team. Like, tell people about this football team. Let people come and watch the football team. Let the people who come and watch the football team tell all their friends about what the football team looks like.
Fans love to come to their own conclusions. They like to come to the games or the scrimmages or practices and share their own observations.
Yeah.
Hey, I was really impressed with this player or this position group. And it may be different than what we talk about.
Yeah, because say you only had the practices and scrimmages open to the media. That's still not really enough because, we would get to say all that we saw, but fans don't generate hype just based off of media. It's why we can't generate a ton of hype by ourselves. You have to include the fans in that. It's media and fans, and combining all of that together generates a significant amount of hype.
Frankly, it's not our job to create hype.
Yeah, it's true.
But it's our job to let fans know.
But that's part of what happens when we're doing our job is that ends up creating hype. When we highlight the top 25 players, we're doing reporting and we're, looking at these players and trying to make our predictions as part of our job. But that does have that kind of a knock-on effect.
Quick text before we hit another timeout, 5452. If the fans do not get to see the team, what is actually going on at Family Fun Day?
Just basically the thing they used to do at the end of the scrimmage, I imagine is just what they're doing, where kids can get the scheduled poster signed. They can, chat with the players. Basically,
that's some great one-on-one opportunities with the players. Get autographs, give them high fives, things like that. Get to meet them.
It's part of, like I said, it's part of one of the things that Bronco has been good at with this, and it's often an overlooked aspect, which is have the players be part of the community. Like that's something the University of Georgia can't figure out because their team isn't like humanly part of the community. They're just a football team. You want this team to be people in the community, and that's where Family Fun Day is nice.
Yeah.
But they're entirely missing the football side of it, which is a really important part of what is, at this point, the job of the players, because this is essentially a paid job for them now, and then obviously coaches, where his job is to promote the university. It's in his contract to promote the university, not just coach the football team.
8632. Hide all the info of the team, generate zero excitement in the offseason for fans, and go around 2-10. And then who cares about fan attendance? Forget all that money we paid you the Pac-12 and the Mountain West. Forget that we opted into rev share, and more attendance equals better players. We need that advantage against Idaho State. They scored 28 against us one year.
Yeah, you look at all these other teams that have way more revenue than the Aggies, and they're getting all, Utah State is generating more and more donations than they ever have. But a lot of them are having open like Boise State. The media is basically attending every single practice.
Yeah, we're jealous.
Like, you think Boise State would want to hide that from Oregon? No, their fans are part of that experience because they can watch the team and the media can watch the team. And what do you know? They make a lot more money than you. And I know that's not the reason.
No,
but that's something that can foster the kind of connection that creates more donations from, the regular old fans.
If you want to go on Saturday to meet the players and get autographs, awesome. If you don't want to go because you don't see the football team on the field, I don't blame you.
Yeah.
We're going to take another timeout. But more on this, got more texts coming in. And we will hear from some players coming up, so stay tuned for that. Yep. We'll hear from Nikko Boncore and a returning player, Bryson Taylor. So stay tuned for that. It's all ahead on the Full Court Press. NGK, Schaefer's, Amsoil, Rotella, Dello, Valvoline. They're all in stock now at your locally owned Napa Auto Parts stores, multiple locations between Preston and Providence.
So we're talking Utah State football and the lack of public practices. The practice isn't so much the problem, it's like the scrimmages, the chance to get the public together and watch the team, because we had that in the spring. They scrimmaged in front of the fans in spring. But just kind of interesting, the lack thereof. We did have a couple of texts coming in on that topic. One here from 1818, kind of how we've been tying this to attendance. 1818, saying when it comes to attendance, since USU has had a good football program back in 2012, these are the things that impact attendance. Game 1, season expectations and previous season results. Games 2 to 4, homecoming and season reaction. Games 5 to 6. It is cold. Is the team great?
Yeah, I think that's good.
Yeah, I think that's a really good summary of where attendance tends to be, and what are the biggest factors.
Because there's especially with students, there's an excitement at the first of the year. Like, hey, let's all show up. This is a traditional thing to do to see this football team. Are they going to be good? Are we going to come back to the next one?
Yeah,
and so, but.
The students tend to show up. The students tend to show up mostly no matter what, but
early on.
Yeah, early on.
Do they stay through the season?
There's pretty much an automatic mostly full or entirely full student section in the first game because the students are going to show up pretty much no matter what. But the rest of the stadium, like 2/3 of the rest of the lower bowl, that is very much up to, as 1A kind of highlighted, season expectations and previous season's results. And one of those factors, if you're a coach, you can kind of pump up expectations by highlighting your team as a football team and showcasing the football side of things, where we've not gotten that at all into Bronco Mendenhall.
5338. Do any other Pac-12 teams hold only closed practices?
So I was kind of like, I was trying to figure this out because I was maybe going to bring up that point earlier. We talked about it, I think, last week. But Boise State pretty much entirely, at least seemingly, open practices. There's media there every day and videos from practice. I think Fresno State, like I've seen references of Fresno State writers like being at practice and at least seeing things happen. So I think that one's open. Colorado State, I'm not 100% sure about because like the reporters say that they don't know who the starting quarterback is. So either they're attending practices and can't say anything about it, or the practices have been relatively closed. And some of the others, I haven't looked into too many of them as much. But my guess is a lot of the practices are closed. That's not really the surprising thing is if practices are closed.
No, but not having any kind of a scrimmage, blue-white game or red and white or whatever your
just
team color
whatever
is,
fall camp scrimmage showcase thing. That's the rarer aspect of this. Having completely open practices, that's that happens, and I wish that was the case with Utah State, but that's a little bit more rare with coaches being a little bit more secretive these days.
And then quickly, 8632, call me crazy, but Broncos' privacy around the team gives serious little brother syndrome vibes. Makes sense considering outside of UNM, he's always been at a little brother school.
Yeah. Well,
I don't know about that.
BYU wasn't as bad. We've got to take a break here. We have a few more texts coming in on this. We'll maybe continue this. We'll also hear from a couple of Utah State players coming up next hour here on the Full Court Press as we continue to talk Utah State football and Utah State sports. Welcome on back to the Full Court Press. Jason Walker, about said my name wrong. Jason Walker, Eric Frandsen. You're on 106.9 FM, 1390 AM, The Fan. Streaming online at 1069thefan.com and on the 1069 The Fan mobile app, and streaming online at The Fan KLGN on YouTube. You can find us there, video streams, on top of the audio streams that we obviously do, and obviously being over the airwaves, good old-fashioned radio.
Yes. Creating a little bit of a buzz, our takes from what's taking place or what's not taking place, rather, on Saturday. Utah State is hosting its Family Fun Day from 3:30 to 6, and it's an opportunity to meet the players, get autographs, get a calendar schedule, those posters, but you won't be seeing the team on the field. So no public scrimmage.
You won't be seeing them in pads or playing football.
No open practices. For the second year in a row, Bronco Mendenhall has opted for a closed fall camp. And I'm struggling to see the wisdom in it. He has his reasons, but I think it comes at a cost. And that's what we've been trying to detail. And you are reacting to that as well, getting some fun texts on the Young Power Sports of Logan text line and on the YouTube chat. If you want to continue to weigh in, 435-339-0321.
Yeah, for me, last year when it was the complete secrecy in favor of not having your players poached, that came with a cost, but I think both the fans and you and I were both kind of like, there's a cost, but you're kind of willing to just tank that. The worst that happens there is you don't see the team in the spring. Well, I guess that kind of sucks, but whatever. Keep the teams on the team. Avoid them getting poached in the spring portal. The secrecy in the fall, that just feels a little harder to justify. Because, again, you're hiding your game, not even game plan, just some plays. Like, if your week one opponent is willing to send someone, to your spring game, like, if they're even willing to do that, what are they going to learn? And so, what is...
watch any media clips of practice or scrimmages.
A lot of the media clips, when I would film scrimmage clips, I would very deliberately zoom them in to avoid showing entire formations. That's kind of partially by request, but I don't get that reminder every single year, and I would still do it just as hey, I'm trying to be respectful and not show full formations. Just this was a cool looking throw, and I try and show that whole thing by trying to pan over. It's a little tricky with my camera work, but I'm trying to, help out a little bit where I can there. But it's what is really being gained by opposing teams, and what's the cost? With avoiding the spring portal, the what you gain is literally probably hanging on to a key player. That's really important.
Yeah.
What are you benefiting from hiding 18 snaps of McKay Hillstead in a spring scrimmage? What are you hiding in that from Idaho State? That's
after
a lot
that
harder
Idaho
to
State
justify.
game is played.
Yeah, there's a whole game of
film's
film
out there. And so is Utah State that concerned about the Bengals? Otherwise, I don't see the value in withholding that from the fans.
Yeah.
It just does not make sense to me. Unfortunately, yes, we had a chance to talk to Bronco Mendenhall today. I asked him about Family Fun Day and what's taking place. A little bit of a miscommunication there, because I really wanted to ask him about not allowing fans once again to see this team. Unfortunately, over the course of that interview, because of how it went, we didn't get asked those questions. But it has been confirmed, no, Utah State will be doing a scrimmage, but it is closed to the public. The team will come up onto the concourse when it's done, when they open the gates for the fans to come and meet the team.
Yeah, so that was one thing on the YouTube chat. Chris Newhouse was kind of asking that, is there an open scrimmage or isn't there? Highlighting the interview, which, the interview, as I mentioned, Bronco ended up kind of misspeaking, and just there was that miscommunication. And we're trying to avoid confusion with keeping that interview, but also trying to, not confuse people because something was just an honest mistake.
Yeah.
In misspeaking, we don't want to give wrong information, which we want to keep that from getting out.
Because there was clarity shared after our interview. and it was cross-checked and definitive.
Yeah. But
yeah.
there was a potential for confusion with some of the language that was still being spoken with Bronco talking about the Family Fun Day, which we wanted to keep that in there where he got to talk about that.
Right, because he's talking about the community, and we love the community and how people are interacting with our team and our players. And that is great.
Yeah.
But fans want to see your team on the field.
Yeah, they want to see them play
nice
football.
to see them in the grocery store or at a community event where they're giving service. Those are also really nice.
Yeah, and they're important things.
But at the end of the day, people want to see what they look like on the field.
Yeah, they're Utah State football players.
Yeah.
So let's get to the text chat. We do have some more stuff from the YouTube chat, but I want to get some of these texts first. Well, the 9 through and 5 kind of referencing, I'll read this again, 8632, where he was saying that the Broncos' privacy around the team gives serious little brother syndrome vibes, saying makes sense considering outside of New Mexico, he's always been at a little brother school. 9 through and 5 saying, I thought Utah and BYU had the same thing going on when Bronco was at BYU, which yeah, to a degree, like BYU and Utah, like he actually kind of leveled the playing field. BYU had lost like 4 games in a row to Utah when Bronco took over. He then kind of leveled that series out, and they were very much equals.
Well, and now in this modern era, Utah has had media availability at practice.
Yeah.
BYU has had media availability at practice. Whether they're going to do scrimmages or not, I don't know. I haven't seen their schedules, but they are making more available to showcase what their team looks like on the field.
Yeah.
Not just with their helmets off or their pads off in the community. They're showcasing what their team looks like on the field.
Yeah. 3714 saying, we have never had a head football coach who came to us with 18 years of mostly winning in major college football until Bronco. So I already trust how he wants to run his program. Plus, he told you guys a few things the Idaho State coaches wouldn't have known, backup QB, and now they will. He knows what he's doing.
He has his methods, which we have not disputed. He has his methods and his reasons. I just disagree with how that can affect maybe not disagree, but I just have concerns about how that affects the fans.
Yeah, because
it delays their interest and knowledge about the team.
Yeah,
it sets it back.
Yeah, and that can I wouldn't say hurt the program, but like hold it back. Because
that's the better term.
I am wholly unqualified to critique how Bronco coaches his team, and to even a degree running the program. I've never run a program, which that is one of the things Bronco has to do. And this is true. Like Bronco has shared, it's what makes this kind of weird because he has shared things with us. Who's the starting quarterback? Like Jim Mora won't even tell the media who their starting quarterback is.
That's true.
Bronco told us last year it was Bryson Barnes. He has told us this year. Like that is usually the one thing. Like
reserve an advantage.
Yeah, like
so
that
have them guessing who the QB is going to be.
That is usually the one thing they won't tell them. They'll have open scrimmages, they'll have open practices, but they won't say who the starting quarterback is. Bronco has done the reverse of that, where he's willing to say who his starting quarterback is, but he won't do anything else. Like that's kind of what makes it even weirder, is that there are little nuggets he's willing to share. Who the starting quarterback is today? He said, "Here's who the backup is." No, he talked about injuries. He didn't say like who got injured, and that's fairly typical. But like he did say, we have an injury on the offensive line. Like he's willing to share these, and that's where like when we do these interviews, he's as open as any coach. Is any coach is going to be. But there are others. So like that's what kind of makes it weird is that there's some things where he is open book as any coach is going to be. All coaches are going to share secrets and things like that. But then there's also aspects where he is a complete closed book, and it's some of those areas where he's different from where most of the coaches are holding an open fall camp scrimmage. And that's where we think that he's potentially missing out on opportunities to make his program better. I can't comment on what he's doing to make the team better because I don't know anything to that effect. I don't have any experience, and I can't critique that. But as far as his ability to promote the program and hype the program, that's where I think there's – and again, as I said in the first hour, if his team goes 11-2, who gives a rip whether or not he was public in fall camp?
Yeah.
But
it just might take several weeks or several games into the season before fans realize what this team's all about.
It could hold –
Those are opportunities lost.
It won't hold the team back on the field. What Bronco is doing is not going to hold the team back on the field.
No, correct.
But it could hold back the program in a small way financially. And again, when you're in a position like Utah State where you're behind everybody else and you want to catch up to the Joneses, every tiny little bit helps.
Yes. A couple more texts rolling in. 8968. As a younger Aggie fan, I went to games no matter what. As I'm getting in my late 70s, I need to pick and choose what games I want to go to.
Yeah.
And I can understand that, especially, financially for some folks, you got to be a little more selective. But do you feel confident that you're going to get your money's worth when you go to a game? And if you don't know, it may be easier to just stay at home and watch it on the CW or USA Network. 9803, someone who has kids, they're just excited to be able to meet players and be on the field. Seeing a scrimmage in no way affects my willingness or desire to purchase tickets, just my opinion, especially if that means keeping players healthy and being ready for actual games versus getting hurt in a scrimmage.
Well, they're still doing the scrimmage.
They're still doing a scrimmage.
They're still doing it.
They will scrimmage
It's just
as
not
a
open.
team on Saturday.
But
It's not open to the public.
But again, there are a bunch of people who will go anyway. There is a minimum, as we've kind of seen, the low point of attendance in game one is like 15,000, 16,000 people. And 9803 is one of those, again, 15,000 people, bare minimum, will go no matter what. But there's a difference between 15,000 and selling it out at 25,000. And that's where you're trying to make up and there are a host of factors into why another 10,000 people will show up. I'm not saying that if Bronco
makes a big
Mendenhall
difference to your bottom line.
hosts a scrimmage, they're going to have another 10,000 people. Like the number of the increase in people who might go because of a scrimmage is probably measured in the hundreds at best. But, but that helps.
It does help.
And there are very few downsides. Holding a scrimmage isn't going to be the difference between a win and a loss.
No.
But hosting a scrimmage is maybe the difference between 100 or 200 extra tickets.
Getting excitement for your team.
Maybe a knock-on effect of those people who bought the 100, 200 tickets also attend the next game. And the game after that, and you could have a cascading effect.
To build in late August or wait for it to build in mid-September.
Yeah.
I mean, you're going to have lost opportunity.
Yeah. So like you don't want to say, well, if we're good in the season, people will come to those games, but you get 6 games. Are you going to sacrifice
a limited amount of opportunity?
Are you going to sacrifice I shouldn't say sacrifice attendance because again, we're not talking massive chunks of attendance because of just a scrimmage or just some off-season hype, but like you are handicapping yourself by not maximizing every opportunity to make money through building your own hype by connecting with the community through what you do on the field. In addition to, again, as I continue to praise Bronco for what he does with his team off the field.
High praise.
Yeah. Nothing but praise.
Yes. 9315 was also meaning then with closed practices with media after practice.
Oh, like with how he ran with BYU. I think it was probably very similar to way. I imagine he probably ran things similar when he was at BYU. Which
they had scrimmages.
Yeah,
people could see what the team was like back
then.
8632. If a closed fall scrimmage was such an advantage, wouldn't every Big Ten and SEC do it? They'll sell out for the first game of the season no matter what, news or no news. They have zero incentive to have open practices, and yet they do it. Well, in fact, the fall scrimmage is a massive moneymaker.
Yeah.
For the Big Ten and SEC, most Power 5 conference schools.
Yeah, the reason
it is an event akin to a regular game.
Yeah, the reason
because their fan bases are that rabid and that large, they look for any excuse to see the team, and so it is a massive money generating opportunity for the team.
Yeah, so for them, it's money very directly, whereas Utah State, they don't charge money because you only get a few hundred people that show up.
It's a 7th home game, essentially.
Yeah. So for Utah State, like that does remove some of the incentive to have because if Utah State was bringing in 2,000 people, paying customers to a fall scrimmage, Cam Walker would be telling Bronco, you will hold a scrimmage, get over it.
Or having other sponsors with events or food or on-field things and announcements. Like there is absolutely revenue opportunities from holding a scrimmage.
Yeah. But that's something that the Bronco is missing out of. Again, is the impact this massive, weight around their neck that's drowning them? No. But again, we are talking about every possible opportunity to promote your program and get the most out of your season, connect with the fans the best. That's what this is about.
5338 is Bronco possibly just shielding the public from Robert and I's offensive scheme since he's a new OC. I guess it wouldn't be hard to research his schemes from prior teams.
He's had basically the same offensive and defensive coordinator since I was in high school.
If you want to see what Bronco Mendenhall and Robert and I look like teamed up, there's ample evidence you can go look at.
And that's how a lot of teams figure out. Like
personnel is going to be a little bit different this year, and there are going to be some tweaks, but there's ample evidence of what Robert and I does as an offensive coordinator.
Yeah, so it's like Idaho State's going to be watching what Robert and I did under BYU
And in Virginia.
Yeah, and in Virginia. It's like they're going to know a lot of those plays, and they're going to have like Idaho State will probably have most of Utah State's playbook as part of their defensive game plan. There's some things they won't know, but they'll have most of that playbook already because of what Robert and I run under Bronco Mendenhall in previous years. Same thing with Nick Howell.
6391. I, for one, am excited for the season. Just got my email with my season tickets today. Can't wait. We're hosting a student from Germany this year. Excited to introduce her to American football. Das gut. Sehr gut.
Eric had a German exchange student recently.
Yes, I approve. But granted, I am one that will be there no matter what.
Well, I'll be honest, our argument that this is affecting fan attendance does take a serious hit because Utah State has sold more season tickets than they ever have before.
True.
So for all of our whining and whinging, Utah State is still managing to sell tickets. So one way or another, they're building hype. So, but that's the thing is that this isn't so much the one thing that they're doing that's killing the program. It's a missed opportunity.
A few more comments out of YouTube, and then we'll take a timeout. We'll get to the player interviews. Braden Clark on the YouTube chat. I think one of the issues that has plagued USU home attendance is that they just simply lost too much at home. Last year's the first year in a long time where the Aggies won 5 games at home. Just double-checked, 2012, 2014, 15, 18, and 26 were the only seasons in the golden era where USU won at least 5 home games.
So I think there's a possibility that's a factor again because there are, in all these things we're talking about with attendance overall and all these different things, there are a million factors. I'm not as inclined to think that's as big of a factor, partly because attendance tends to, like, one of the things we haven't talked about as far as what impacts attendance is who's showing up, like the Utah State's playing.
The opponent.
Utah State sells out Boise State, BYU, Utah, even though they've lost to these teams every time in Maverick Stadium for a while now. It's been since 2012 that they beat they beat Boise State in 2015, but like they show up for these teams. And part of it is because there's also road fans. Those teams travel well to Utah State, at least specifically. And also in 2021 or 2022, there was good attendance early in the season. Utah State went 3-3 in 2021 at home. So, like, again, there's things I'm not factoring in. That's something I could maybe dive into, but like, I'm not as inclined to think that is as big of a factor. But it could be. It certainly could be. Because there are some people who want to go to home games because they believe, like, they want to, like, my brother's actually like this, where he wants to go to a game where he thinks Utah State's going to win. Or that when we go to a Jazz game or a Mammoth game or an RSL game, he wants to go to a game that there's confidence that his team will win. And so there are some fans who feel that way. And if they see Utah State losing at home, they're less inclined to go. But again, there's some fans who are willing to go to a game because they're playing somebody good.
Yeah, and just a reminder, the home schedule, Idaho State, Troy, Washington State, Colorado State, Fresno State in the flex game, which could be Boise State. Don't know. Could be somebody else.
Yeah, we'll see exactly what it is. I think we've gotten through all the texts. Lively conversation. We weren't expecting to continue this conversation as much, but we want to get to some of these player interviews. We want to get to some of the content that we do have because despite not having open practices, Utah State is willing to put their players out there to talk to us. Which again, like, it's not like they're a complete closed book.
No.
They are willing to talk to us and aren't really hiding anything when we do talk to them.
So through try to understand what this team is about through post-practice interviews. Doesn't give the full picture. It helps. It helps.
But it helps. And that's the thing. Like they're not trying to completely shut out media or fans. It's just the scrimmages. That's pretty much the one thing that we're really lacking, that we do certainly miss. Let's get to the break. We do have one text. Should we get to this text real quick before we go to break from 6391? I think it feels like a lack of consecutive great seasons hurts. We always seem to have a down year after our good years. And then saying, he's saying there were a couple of typos in his in his initial text. Yeah, that's something that they think does, like the lack of, 2018, then mediocre 2019, great 2021, mediocre 2022. I think if you built up some momentum, you would like, because again, the biggest factor for whether or not people show up is hype around having a good team. Yeah. There's artificial hype that people think it will be a good team, but then there's the kind of objective measure of this team was good last year. I'm hyped that it will be good again this year.
Right, and Bronco has a long view of a lot of things, and so in his mind, this is a long play. In his mind, I'm developing a culture. I'm building. It's going to take a while, but once it gets going, it's going to cook. Yeah. And fans are going to be excited, and they know what we do, and the product on the field speaks for itself. And I understand that.
Yeah.
But you're still missing an opportunity. That's our biggest concern.
Yeah, because if he had 3 straight 11-2 seasons, he could close everything down to the media, pretend there's not even a football team at Utah State, and you'd sell out the stadium in week 1.
It'd still be okay.
Yeah, but again, we'd
still have our concerns.
Yeah,
but the fans would still show up.
It would mostly be like, we wish we could see this team, and that's kind of what we're doing. We wish we could see this team and learn more about it. And we feel that there is a missed opportunity financially and connecting with the community.
Yes.
Is it bad for football? No. Is it really that big of a deal in the long run? Not really. But again, the thesis here is that it's a missed opportunity.
Right. Yep.
So let's hit our break, and then we'll actually have a chance to hear from the Utah State football players Nikko Boncore and Bryson Taylor, the recently returned Bryson Taylor. That's coming up next here on the Full Court Press. Head on over to Birdie's Golf Lounge, 650 North, 870 West in Logan. If you're really good at golf like Eric Frandsen is, you can join one of the leagues and competitions with national and local prizes. If you're not very good at golf like me, you can use their Swing AI coach system, the Unicore iX02 launch monitors, which are also one of the things, if you're good at golf, like Eric is again, it'll fully capture the magnificence of your swing.
Yes.
And the flight of the ball. So let's get into a couple of the interviews that we did. These are the things that we do have. We've been whining about all the things we don't have, but let's count our blessings and hear what Utah State does provide freely and allowing us this access to the players and getting a chance to talk to them. Let's hear first from Nikko Boncore, the redshirt freshman wide receiver, looking to break through in the rotation. There's some transfers and veterans ahead of him, but just because you're a freshman doesn't mean you're not necessarily going to be in the rotation. We've seen that from other players that we've talked to, like Chris Joe, among others. So let's let's make sure I can actually pull up the video properly. But we'll hear from, again, redshirt freshman Nikko Boncore.
Utah State wide receiver Nikko Boncore, and you were a redshirt player last year.
Yes, sir.
So you were around this program. How would you assess how things are different this year compared to last year?
I think that this year we're more complete as an offensive unit. We have weapons everywhere. I think we all complement each other's game really well. Like, you could run the ball, you could throw the ball. We have great quarterbacks, great receiver room, great running back room. I think all around we complement it. And then you got defensive side of the ball, and you got dogs on our D-line, Tujay, you got Tyree Morris, you got guys like that. And then you got our backers like Harry, Asher, Bronson coming back. And you feel me? Like, those guys make a big impact. Then you got our DBs on the other side. You know, we got Markey, we got Kai Stokes, like guys, lockdown guys, you know. So I think this year's gonna be a big year for our offense and defense and even special teams, you know, all around complimentary football this year.
I was talking to Colin Romanowski yesterday, and then we just heard from Coach Bronco Mendenhall just a minute ago. Both of them are really praising the wide receiver room.
Yes, sir.
And Anthony Garcia was back last year and saw time on the field. Not too many other guys did with this unit, but seems like there's a lot of excitement about this wide receiver group.
Yes, sir. I think that the vets are doing a very good job of taking us under. Like, I'm a young guy, so I listen to them, like, take feedback, and the vets in our room take feedback from the young guys that we could always learn from each other. So you got J-Rob, who has really good college experience. You got AG coming back. You got Rex, Haynes. You got Meek, which is a guy, and he got hurt unfortunately last year, but this year, like, we looking to make some noise in the Pac-12 with our receiver room for sure. Guys all around.
How do you feel like you fit in with the mix? I mean, there's different talents and different sizes, different abilities in any given wide receiver room. So where do you feel like your specialty is as a wide receiver?
I think my specialty is definitely my hands. I think catching the ball is my biggest strength in my game. Contested catches, filling out zones, sitting in zones, reading coverages. I feel like that's the biggest part of my game.
What made you choose Utah State? Why did you choose to come here?
Yes, sir. So I had originally got recruited from the old staff that was previously here before Broncos staff came in. And after that staff left, they told me, you know, you could either stay or leave. So this new staff, Broncos staff, they brought me in for another official visit, and just the connection they had, they're genuine people here. I think these coaches are all genuine. They're gonna tell you how it is, how it's not, the real, and I don't think there was any sugarcoating in my recruitment. And I think that was the best part for me to grow as a person and just play the best football I can at a D1 level.
Last year it was Coach Kevin McGivern as the offensive coordinator. This year it's Robert and I.
Yes, sir.
How are things similar? How are things different with how the offense is running?
I think things are very different. I think Coach Anai does a very good job of, you know, letting us play free. He gives us the call, and every route is like, you have an option. You're on the fly. He lets you and the quarterbacks, your connection depends on how you read a coverage. So during the summer, you know, McKay and Grady, all of them bringing us in, you know, just working concepts. And those concepts, every coverage has a different read to it. And so I think playing free allows us to just play at a high level and execute fast.
You mentioned McKay.
Yes, sir.
How do you see him developing and settling into his role as a starting quarterback?
Yes, sir. I think McKay's great. I think he's a very good leader. He takes ownership. He takes, you know, he makes sure that we're on the right page. If he has anything that he wants to say to us, he makes sure to come to the sideline. This is what I see. This is what I think you should do. We get feedback. We give him our feedback. He takes our feedback. And, you know, that just allows us to get better as a unit. Our connection builds and stuff like that.
You were one of the first group of Aggies to select the jersey number. Walk me through that process for you, what that was like for you to be able to be in that early group, and then why you settled on number 4.
Yes, sir. So last year I had got picked in the second round, and you know, that was a good feeling coming in as a true freshman, getting picked in the second round. But the main goal was definitely get picked in the first round. And last year I could say that I wasn't mature enough, and I wasn't ready for the college level of like maturity and the work and all that stuff. And coming in this year, I had guys like Eli, Meek, AG, Rex. They're all in my J-Rob, like in my ear, like, yo, you have the potential to be good, and if you want to be that, like, you can, and you need to do this, this, and this. And so I took that to heart and, you know, just changed my ways. Sacrifice. That's what we talk about all the time, is sacrifice. So I sacrificed some things that I never thought I would, and, you know, like, that really helped. There's those guys digging that into my head, just like, you have the potential, like, you could play a big time role in this offense. And just going into that, I think that led to me getting picked in the first round, is just all the work and dedication that those guys preached on me, and then me just executing it. And then I picked number 4 because it's my mom's favorite number, so it's from my mom.
Okay, very good.
Yes,
Well, Nikko Boncore, thank you so much for your time and good luck this season.
Yeah, so Nikko Boncore, potentially a rising star. Well, again, we'll see if he's able to break through with the rotation. Obviously, he is someone whose name I heard like last season, someone who could potentially be in the rotation last year. Didn't end up working out. I mean, maybe he could have if they like pushed for him, because like they may have been kind of on the fence of like, do we put this guy in the rotation because, like, you know,
or
red shirt year,
preserve
his red shirt. Of course, with how limited they were on wide receivers late in the season, maybe they could have benefited from that. But they ultimately made that decision to have him red shirt. Perhaps something that he's got that talent. His teammates believe in him. It's why we're hearing his name come up a lot.
I have seen a few highlights of him making some plays in practice. I was not expecting the personality that I got in that interview.
Usually freshmen are like quiet and reserved. And
yeah, man,
like
he was happy. He was excited. He was
yeah.
I thought he gave some really good stuff and great insight about his teammates and about the team overall, about the great players that he's seeing on defense and the other players that he's surrounded with on offense. His comments about Robert and I as his offensive coordinator. It's the second time we've heard a player talk about the freedom that he is instilling in the players and in this offensive system.
Yeah. So he's very much learning a lot. There's a lot that he's trying to, you heard him talk about all the different reads you're trying to make and all the different things he's trying to learn. It's a lot for 19-year-old kid to be learning about. For as simple as college offenses can be compared to the NFL, they are still complicated things.
Still a lot to process.
So it's things that are tricky to learn. So let's hear from our next interview, Bryson Taylor. Had a chance to catch up with him and kind of go through his process of, well, coming back to Utah State. That was something that he wasn't necessarily expecting. Actually, it was something he maybe kind of was expecting, but like, or at least it was on his radar. But then it all came to fruition about a couple of weeks ago.
Utah State defensive back Bryson Taylor. I guess welcome back to Utah State. Obviously, got to play here last year, but I kind of want to walk through the process of you coming back here, just how that went down. Just like, when did you learn that that was going to be a possibility, and just kind of and how you reacted?
To be honest, I kind of always knew since January there was a lot of buzz coming about I could get another year. And Bronco, we always stayed in touch. And recently, I want to say around the late July, he gave me a call, said this could be happening. And he gave me a call, I want to say 2 weeks ago. And he's like, come up here as soon as you can. I said, yes, sir, I'm there.
So where were you at? Were you just, because obviously you went to Atlanta for work. Just like, where were you at?
I was working out. I was just home in Atlanta working out. And I remember I was actually playing basketball. I was playing basketball. He called my phone. I stopped what I was doing, ran in the bathroom, got on the phone, and it was a great call.
So it's kind of how difficult, because obviously at that point you're looking at moving on in your life, moving into whatever comes next after football, and suddenly football was back. Kind of, what was that like for you, kind of dropping everything? Back?
It was great. To be honest, it's a blessing. I feel like it was God, and I love this culture. I love this team, and I'm really just grateful to work with them one more time.
So what's the transition like been coming back? Obviously, it's the same coaching staff, a lot of the same system, but what's it been like going from not being Utah State to just remembering everything?
It's not too much of a learning curve. It's just, again, like you said, just remembering the old terms and things and like that. I'm picking it up pretty fast again. It's been pretty easy, to be honest.
And obviously a lot of new teammates, of course. That's something, when you transfer from New Mexico, you had to learn with that. Obviously. What's it like been for you, just learning with these new teammates?
I love these new teammates. To be honest, as soon as I got here, I clicked with them really easily. I also because I was out here for my pro day. And I met a lot of them there. And me coming back to really get to know a lot of them, I really feel like we can get close and we can do some things together.
So remember exactly what day it was when you, like, your first practice back Utah State Broncos? It was about a week and a half?
Yeah, about a week and a half ago.
Like last Monday
Yep.
or something like that?
Yes, sir.
What was that feeling like when you stepped on the field?
Oh, man, to be honest, man, I was gassed, man. I had to get my wind back in me. You know, the elevation up here is a little different than it is in Atlanta. But I shook back pretty fast. You know, it felt good. It felt really good.
So if you've been coming back, obviously you've got a lot of versatility where you played corner, you've played safety, so it's not like a problem fitting in. But like, what kind of role have you been maybe working yourself into as far as in what position you're looking at?
Right now, I'm cross-training I'm cross-training Nikko, corner, safety. So really whatever the team needs. I'm not really here for individual success. I'm here for whatever the team needs, whatever Bronco needs, I'm going to do.
So what have you seen from some of the new safeties, David Bongo, Jonathan Lewis? Just what have you seen from them?
Man, they're ballers. They're really smart. They're really smart. They're really intelligent. They're really athletic. They're some ballers, man. It's good to be around them. You know, it's real competitive in that room, and the competitive breeds of greatness. So it's really good. Good people too.
When you look at last year's defense, that was one that kind of came along a little bit slower, got things going a little bit late in the season. But as you look at this year's defense, what do you see from them as far as being able to pick up where last year's unit left off, and what their possibilities this year?
To be honest, I feel like we're going to pick up where we left off from our last game last year, and then build on that. So I think we're going to be a really good defense this year. I feel like we got all our places, we got a lot of talent, we got all the hard work done. I think we're going to be pretty good this year.
What are kind of the biggest improvements you've seen? I mean, you've had a week and a half to observe that, but like, what are the biggest changes you've seen from personnel and overall ability?
I feel like the overall, I want to say ability, but the overall urgency of running the defenses. I feel like we run the defenses a lot more cleaner, just all around, from the D-line to the secondary. I feel like we're a lot cleaner, we're a lot more meshed together in that. There's a lot of times last year, there might be some mistakes on our half or someone else's half, but I feel like now it's a lot more meshed up together.
And going up against McKay Hillstead, obviously new quarterback, but more of a thrower than a runner that Bryson was. What have you seen from him?
Man, he's talented. He's talented, and he's a little. He got some stuff to him, man. He's a competitor, man, and that's what you want in your quarterback, man. I got to know him a little bit. We're gonna be good friends. You know, he's working me in one-on-ones and team and stuff. He throws really good balls, so it's good to be around him. Good to have him here.
I think that's pretty much it.
Yes, sir.
Bryson.
That was nice at the end. He was talking about Kay Hillstead and going up against him, the praise he had. But yeah, just kind of interesting story there where it's like, hey, he's just down in Atlanta. I had either forgotten or didn't remember. Well, those are the same thing. Forgotten or never knew that he's from Georgia. His hometown is an hour away from Atlanta, which probably factored into him, like, because he might have had a couple of different offers for rookie camp. There's some players that go to multiple rookie camps or they pick whichever one they feel like is best. And I imagine him being from Georgia factored into him going to Atlanta for a rookie minicamp, but that didn't work out. He was one of 23 tryouts. He didn't make it to the offseason roster. So he's just in Atlanta, in Georgia, hanging out, working out, playing pickup ball on the day that the Bronco Mendenhall gives him the call. And it's like, all right, come back to Logan.
Yeah. Yeah, and interesting comments from Bronco Mendenhall earlier last hour about him and about this process. And there's still some uncertainty with these players and their new eligibility. But Bryson, it looks like he's happy to be back on the field playing football and getting another opportunity, trying to acclimate to the elevation and get caught up to speed so he's not hurting himself and trying to exert too much too early. But he's now to the point where he's starting to practice more. He's already got a jersey number assigned, so that speaks a lot about who he is and what he looks like he can contribute to this team for this upcoming season. So a very versatile player, as he talked about, like learning different skills in how he might be positioned on the defense. And I think it's just going to really add to the experience and depth that already exists in that secondary.
So we've got to take a break. When we come back, there's a couple of different topics we can dive into. I think the stream title says we're going to talk about Pac-12 basketball. We may have to punt that for tomorrow, but more of an evergreen topic because Utah State soccer and Skyview football play tonight.
Yes.
So a little bit more timely to talk about. So we'll jump into that here on the Full Court Press coming up next.
Cache Valley's biggest garage sale, presented by DD Auto and Salvage, is coming up on August 29th from 8 a.m. to 3 p.m. It's at the Eccles Ice Center parking lot in North Logan. Dozens of vendors will be there selling furniture, tools, collectibles, home goods. There's a chance for you to still be a vendor, if you will. There's an opportunity for you to sign up for your own booth. There'll also be free kids' bouncy houses there from Checkout's Amusements and food trucks on hand. So you can get more details at CacheValleyGarageSale.com.
I realized that I was messing around with the volume levels, and I realized I was moving the wrong dial. So I was trying to move the volume up, but then I don't think it actually moved up. Maybe
it got a little bit louder.
Maybe this is the right. Maybe it is the right one.
Maybe not dramatically, but it did.
Well, drop the beat. Of course, the problem is we're not supposed to over the YouTube stream. We're not supposed to play the bump music over YouTube because of rights and stuff.
Bots that flag that kind of stuff.
We have the right to do it over radio, not necessarily the right to do it over YouTube. Let's jump into Utah State soccer. That's something I want to highlight today. They're playing in their third game of the season. The Aggies are 0-1-1. They lost their season opener against Kansas, who was ranked number 15 at the time. They probably had another set of rankings come out since then. But then they came home, hosted Michigan. Looked like they had that one under control. They were up 2-0 at halftime, and then they ended up giving up 2 goals, including a literal last-second goal. They come over with a tie in that one. Today they host Portland at Chuck and Gloria Bell Field, 7:30. I'll be there, so if you happen to go there and you see me, feel free to come say hi. I'm kind of shy and don't always know what to say when people introduce themselves to me, but I'll
do it anyway.
I'll be as friendly as I can be. I won't bite you, that's for sure. But yeah, Portland, a really solid team. Historically, the Aggies played them and lost last season. I believe this is the second end of a home-and-home series. But Portland, actually, no, I'm looking at their men's soccer team. I was trying to look at what their women's soccer team is, and I accidentally clicked on men's soccer because it said they hadn't even started the season. I was like, that's weird. And Utah State wasn't even on their schedule. So they played Washington, who's a top 15 in their own right. Lost that one, but only lost 1-0. So this is a tough Portland team that can certainly come to Bell Field and beat the Aggies if the Aggies aren't, building themselves back up from a couple of negative results.
By the way, Kansas has moved up to 12 in the latest rankings for this week.
Yeah. On Portland's side, it says number 12/number 4, which implies, because that's usually what they do with I didn't realize there were multiple polls. Because I'm just aware of one coach's poll that they do. But that's kind of a wide range. One is top 15, one is top 5. And I don't know which of those Washington is based on this. Do you have the rankings pulled up?
I have the United coaches poll.
That's the one that I know. Where's Washington on that one?
Washington is number 10 on this list.
Well, then what are these numbers? I guess that's when they played them.
Maybe when they played, yeah.
Yeah, because it probably still says number 15 on Utah State because that's what they were ranked when they played them. They usually keep that there. So, yeah, that's obviously, this is going to be a difficult game for the Aggies, but a winnable game. When the Aggies are at home, then they're certainly capable of beating anybody. They've beaten the number 1 team. Last year they drew with Kansas. Kansas ended up going on to be ranked, go to the Sweet 16. And that's a team that Utah State drew with, a similar team they lost 2-0 against on the road. But when they're at home, I know the Aggies kind of bungled it against Michigan, but for most of that game they were controlling things. So I think the biggest key for the Aggies is tighten up the defense, as I kind of brought up when we were recapping the Michigan game. Utah State went 5 games last year before they'd given up 4 goals. 2 games into the season, they've given up 4 goals. So they've got to tighten up what has typically been a strong Manny Martin's defense. The offense looked good against Michigan. They created chances, 16 shots, I think 8 or 9 on goal. They get 2 goals. The offense looked fine against Michigan. I think the offense will look overall fine against Portland. But the key is finish opportunities, at least 2 or 3 of them ideally. But the defense has kind of been more the Achilles heel in these first 2 games, more especially against Michigan, where it got a little bit lax, especially in the second half.
Yeah, you got to play a full 90 minutes. You can't just get a little bit lax in the very end and allow cheap goals and just not play a ball just right. The keeper's got to be aggressive and getting out there and punching that ball out.
Yeah.
Talking to the defenders in front of her. Utah State has shown they know how to do this.
Yeah.
And so they'll get there. I'm confident they will, but it's got to start, and it's got to start tonight.
Yeah, it's got to start somewhere. And definitely start tonight, because like you can get over 2 iffy results in your first 2 games, but once you start making that 3, and then they're going to go play Utah Valley, who's another really tough team, and then you're going up against another power conference team in Utah. Like, it's not really going to get any easier. They need to ramp things up. So playing defense, especially playing defense in the clutch, because they gave up a clutch goal against Kansas when they were down 0-1. You can still tie it at that point. They gave up the insurance goal, and then obviously clutch defense wasn't there against Michigan. So really, it's playing defense in the clutch. Continue to get good offense going, like you did against Michigan. Keep that up against Portland.
One other thing going on tonight, we've got a Thursday night football game. Skyview Bobcats, which we follow here on the Fan. Very long tradition of having Skyview sports on 1390 AM.
Not as long as Logan on KVNU, but who's counting?
Yes. So that game is taking place tonight. Familiar foe. Ridgeline played Morgan last week. Skyview gets Morgan tonight. So Ridgeline was able to take care of Morgan. This will be an interesting barometer test. What does Skyview look like? Skyview kind of struggled. It was a competitive game against Park City. The Miners are a tough team. But how much does Skyview improve? What do they do against Morgan, who is a tough opponent? And it'll be on their field. And we learned that the game last week was moved not because of the wildfires in the area, but because they put in a new track and it wasn't quite finished yet. But it's supposed to all be done for the game tonight. So Skyview Bobcats taking on the Morgan Trojans, and it'll be our friend Chad Saunders on the call here on the Fan. Pre-game at about 6:45, 6:50, and then the kickoff shortly after 7 o'clock, and also video streaming on CashValleyDaily.com.
Yeah, so keep an ear out and an eye out for that if you want to watch the stream.
Yes.
Follow the Skyview Bobcats as they look to start 2-0 on the season. We got to take a break. When we come back, it's time for Pick 6.
Time to break the streak.
What streak? Am I on 1 or 2?
I think you're on 2.
Are we sure? No. Well, anyway, Pick 6 is next here on the Full Court Press. Welcome back in to the Full Court Press here. Now I've got the right, bump music slider.
Hey, there we go. Up, down, up, down.
If you're listening on YouTube, you won't hear the bump music, but it exists. So let's get into Pick 6, Eric. The 6 things, I have to wait for the bump music to end because...
It's the 6 things that will definitively happen this weekend. It's just Jason and I are going to tell you how it's going to happen.
Yes, definitely. That is...
Encourage you to shout at your radio on how you would vote.
That's how things are going to work.
Yes.
I was going to play the music, but then you ruined it. So, I started by ruining it, but
I ruined it.
it's always Eric's fault. It's always Eric's fault. Everything is Eric's fault. I won pick 6 last week, so I got to choose who goes first. Eric, I will let you go first with the 3 lines that you have set.
You're going to defer. Okay. Devin Tompkins, all-purpose yards. Raiders are playing at the Texans. I believe this game is tonight. And so all-purpose yards for Devin Tompkins, setting it at 30.5, 30.5.
I'll go over.
I'm going to take the under. Pete Crow Armstrong, who has rocketed into first place in the MVP ballots.
There are no ballots.
No ballots yet. In the MVP discussion for Major League Baseball. Cubs are at Seattle, so a PCA hits bases on balls and stolen bases in the 3-game series, 6.5.
So hits
base on balls.
Base. So basically all on base, all times he gets on base, plus stolen bases.
Yes.
6.5 over 3 games.
Yes.
I'll take the over.
I'm also going to take the over. And then the return of F1. It's had a long gap because there were races normally scheduled in the Middle East. Those got kind of taken off the calendar with.
Did they get rescheduled?
Reasons. I don't know if they've been rescheduled. I should look at that.
The World Endurance Championship, I think, rescheduled theirs. They're just playing. They're just doing them somewhere else.
Somewhere else. Could be. So it returns. The racing returns for F1. They're going to be at the Heineken Dutch Grand Prix this weekend.
Like you had to throw the sponsor in there.
So Max Verstappen. He's been a little bit off this year, but it's in his home country. So his finish in the Dutch Grand Prix this weekend, 3.5.
I don't know how good he is at Zandvoort. I'll say under.
So that would mean he finishes first or second?
First, second, or third.
First, second, or third.
Yeah.
Okay. I'm going to take the over.
All right. Okay, so here are my lines. First, IMSA finally back. IMSA and WEC have both taken a long break. They're at Virginia International Raceway. Looking at the point standings, the number 1 BMW is in first place in the point standings. The number 4 Chevy is in second place. Who has the higher finish this weekend, VIR?
The choice is between
the number 1 BMW and, BMW and Chevy.
BMW and Chevy?
They're specific cars, but yeah.
I'll go BMW.
All right. I'll take the Chevy.
Okay.
Combined rushes and receptions. This is only rush and receptions, no kick returns or anything like that. And it's just the physical rush or reception, not targets. So combined rushes and receptions by Miles Davis, Devin Tompkins, Brady Boyd, and Jalen Royals.
Ooh.
Over under 10.5.
I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take the under. And then Philadelphia is taking on New England in preseason on Saturday. Philly by 1.5.
I'm going to take Philly. I'm going to take the over.
I'm going to take Philly as well. And then a tiebreaker. This is IndyCar. There were a lot of cautions last week when they were at kind of a new street track up in Markham in Canada. They're in Washington, D.C. for another new street track, the Freedom 250.
That's right.
Laps under caution in the 147-lap race. Over under 35.5.
I'm going to take the over.
Over. That gives me the under. I don't have a choice. There were like 25 laps under caution in a 90-lap race at Markham. So a lot of that race was spent just circling the track slowly.
Street races
as they cleaned up broken Indy cars.
A couple of texts coming in at the tail end of the show. 1818. Apologize, took us a minute to get to this one. We were talking about football attendance.
Yeah,
and
like the minimum, you're going to get minimum 15,000. There's an extra 10,000 that may or may not show up.
Winning consistently brings in the extra 10K. There's a reason 2012 through 2014 are the best attended seasons at USU.
That's why I don't want to like hype up the lack of scrimmages as this huge problem. Because, that's what will bring fans.
And
but
to add clarity,
you can help.
4475 texting into the tail end of the show here. Will we be able to watch the scrimmage or practice on Saturday at the Family Fun Day, or is it closed? It is closed. Now, we heard Bronco say there will be a scrimmage and then there'll be Family Fun Day, but the scrimmage itself is closed to the public.
Unless you're Eric and you sneak in.
So the Family Fun Day will be opportunities to visit with players, get autographs. Sure, they'll have other things going on, but you will not see what's happening on the field.
There will not be football played at the Family Fun Day during the public portion. Family Fun Day does not include on-field football.
As what we've been told.
Yeah, that is what we've been told repeatedly. There's been some miscommunications, but there will not be a publicly viewable scrimmage for Utah State football this fall.
Yes.
So, unfortunately, we wish we could see it, but there are a lot of things we want. World peace, I want $1 million, but we can't always have these things.
I keep waiting for you to pay up.
You think I'm going to pay you $1 million? You guys,
I can dream, right?
You guys pay me. I wish you paid me $1 million, but I think you also wished you could pay me $1 million.
I need my own paycheck in there.
If you could afford to pay me $1 million, you'd be rolling in it.
Yeah.
So that's going to do it for us today here on the Full Court Press. Thank you so much for listening. We'll be back at it tomorrow to preview the upcoming weekend of including high school sports, as more teams will be in action tomorrow.